All right, everyone. Welcome to this weekend Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for June 22nd to the 24th of 2018. All right, so this weekend we have the moon finishing Virgo Friday and the early part of Saturday. So still a great time for taking care of things, doing the work, getting into that nitty-gritty aspects of ourselves with the moon in Virgo. And then as we get into the second half of the weekend, the moon shifts into Libra, which is great for essentially finding balance in our life. And this can certainly be through our relationships, such as through cooperation and finding that harmony. So the aspects this weekend is this Friday and Saturday, the sun is going to be sextiling Uranus. So not a major aspect, but maybe a good weekend for trying new things, thinking outside the box, expressing ourselves in unique and different ways. Once we get well set into Saturday, Mercury does oppose up to Pluto. So maybe some deep thinking, maybe communication. So really good to practice this non-attachment to what we might be thinking about or communicating over the weekend. And the sun is squaring up to Chiron. So on a minor note, there could be some healing with this as well. So let's look at all of this here in more detail when we return. All right, so here's the sky for this weekend. We will break this down for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. As you can see here, the moon will be shifting from Virgo into Libra. So again, we are using the actual size of the constellations. If you are new to the channel, check out that link down below because the signs are different from mainstream astrology. As you can see here, for example, Libra is a very small constellation in the sky. Virgo is a very large constellation in the sky, and this does change the signs by quite a bit relative to mainstream astrology. All right, so let's take a look at Friday first. We will have the moon finishing Virgo, leading us into the first part of Saturday. So as was the case likely on Thursday and even Wednesday, this sort of detail-oriented aspects of ourselves coming through. Virgo is all about taking care of what needs to be taken care of, doing the work, focusing on the details of things, striving towards perfection. Of course, you know, there isn't any perfection in the sense of the way we want it. There's only divine perfection, but certainly striving towards that improvement is always great with the moon here. And we just could notice themes here on Friday in regards to this sort of doing of the work and improving things. So with this sort of backdrop, we will have the sun starting to sextile up to Uranus. So this is going to lead us into Saturday as well. And although not a major aspect, it is a supportive one for trying new and different things. It's kind of this opening here that we can choose or choose not to work with, but it's certainly available. So great for thinking outside the box. We could be feeling a bit free, like wanting to change the way we focus on things, maybe make some, do some new and different things in the day-to-day. Really getting into this progressive and innovative side of ourselves. So we'll all be expressing this differently, but if there's anything that is maybe outside of the ordinary that you feel like might be a good way of mixing things up a bit, changing your perspective a bit, what your focus a bit, and expressing yourself in new ways, could be a nice couple days of doing that. So that's going to be Friday. And then as we start to get closer into Saturday, Mercury is going to be opposing up to Pluto. So this type of energy can be quite powerful when it comes to our thoughts, when it comes to communication. Essentially, we have Mercury, our practical minds, in opposition to Pluto, the planet of essentially stripping away our attachments. The really deep side of ourself that wants to get to the truth. So that's likely what we're going to be collectively experiencing, is this deep mind of wanting to get to the truth, wanting to get down to the bottom of things. And so it's great to do that. Really good for things like research, using our mind to, uncover things, but at the same time also practicing non-attachment, especially if it does involve interpersonal relationships, as is often the case with oppositions. Usually that does involve two parties. Oppositions show that in astrology. And with the moon shifting into Libra, we could notice themes around that. So when it does come to what we're communicating, good to be non-attached, I think, to our needs, recognizing the needs are there, but then observing them and accepting them, and in that way, practicing that non-attachment. That essentially Pluto helps us do. And that could also be with our mind as well. If we are diving deep with things that we're researching or thinking about or uncovering, also that non-attachment can help. So along with this, on a more minor note, we do have the sun squaring up to Chiron. This is the comet Chiron, so it's not as personal as the planets, those stronger planets. So in this case, anything we can do around Saturday that is an initiation, something we can initiate to heal with, can be great. Especially if you feel any wounds about your self-expression or anything that is a sort of wound or inhibition that if you feel like you did, would be healing for you, right? Squares are all about taking that initiative, setting the intention, and sometimes taking the action, in the face of those wounds, in this case, that leads to the healing. So anything you can do to challenge yourself with this, or quite literally do healing with that intention, can be fantastic. And I think as a result, going into Sunday, a lot of this rejuvenation that the healing of Chiron often helps us do. And then also the easing up of that deeper energy with Pluto, and then also easing up a bit of that spontaneous energy. And so when we get into Sunday, the moon will be set into Libra. So that day in particular, I think will be great for essentially finding balance in our life. Always good on a personal level to see if there's any areas of our life that we want to bring back into balance. And then again, excuse me. And then again, in interpersonal relationships, wanting that balance as well. So striving towards harmony, cooperation. Sometimes there's themes pertaining to justice, the right and wrong, right? Morality, these types of things. And striving towards balance, striving towards fairness, right? Equality, right? Mutuality, these types of things, whether it's within or without, is fantastic with Libra. Essentially balancing the scales there. All right, so that's the weekend in a nutshell. Cusp kind of weekend where the first half is still good for taking care of things, again, striving towards that improvement, and then the second half shifting a little bit more into wanting to find balance and things being good to find balance in our life and in our relationships. In that context, great weekend for mixing some things up a little bit, just an opening for that, seeing things a new way, expressing ourselves, being our true self, right? Our free selves is always great with that. And channeling this intense or deep mind into constructive ways and bringing that extra attention there, as well as doing some healing in whatever way you might feel like. If there's some things that you can do or some intentions you can set in the face of some wounds and following through with them, can be very healing and rejuvenating this weekend. All right, so a fantastic weekend, everyone. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all Monday for the daily forecast.